Alright, let's cut to the chase. I want its babies.
A brawl is surely brewing.
I was nervous about this one. Could have been all huff, no puff, but it's more than just a pretty face. It was incredibly fun, incredibly fast, incredibly thrilling, and I sucked. Not just dying a handful of times, dying again and again and again and again and again.
And again until we're both dead.
I'm aware that I'm not great at video games, call it years of being spoilt by chimp snatch and whatever funny joke this can be, ha 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 ha. So naturally I was worried the difficulty might be too much for me to get into. Though it was kinda tough to get a straight answer about that after this blew up and got everyone on the defensive. People either going, hey, it's pretty hard, maybe games need a rethink, or, oi, tough shit, here, fill it. I didn't find any of it helpful, and after having played it myself, I find what's being lost in the noise is how Cuphead's difficulty is actually a very accessible, appealing, addictive experience. This game banged my ass, but I had loads of fun and eventually found it pretty comfy. I'm probably being quite naive here, there are other people out there better versed in this genre who can speak to the finer points of Cuphead's mechanics and how it holds up in comparison to its influences. May not even be that hard for them. All I can speak for is why I think the game worked hard to help me, why the challenge feels so fun, and why I think it will appeal to other newcomers too. Better get in there before it's fucked, why defend anything, right?
Good day for a swell battle.
So I'm wrestling with the slime boss, it's a good time, I get it. We play patty cake for a bit and sweet, yeah, what? Oh no! I laughed a lot. It also taught me a very important lesson. This isn't just about making the boss dead, because that clearly didn't work. It's about something else.
Survival.
Cuphead is a boss rush, and that's a wonderful thing. Bosses give a game real character. They pit another personality against the player and ask them to know that person or creature through the language of the gameplay. It's easy to fall into bad boss design habits though, often becoming by-the-numbers weak spot sluggers or just wars of attrition. Here we have over 20 bosses with attacks and patterns that are unique from each other, and a limited range of options to deal with them all. Cuphead forces you to come to grips with your own fragile mortality. I don't mean shit like you'll find God, though I guess anything's possible. I mean the idea that lasting is the real challenge. 3 to 5 hearts, minimum range of weapons, corner to single screens, can only avoid attacks and dart out of situations which requires practice. The restrictions within these stripped down parameters encouraged me to notice how I played, look at every opportunity available and reassess. Happened pretty naturally, and I felt help was there without ever being talked down to. The tutorial screens, being this optional void, means you can even practice at your own leisure. Don't take the piss though. This is also why I think the argument that newbies won't grasp the parry doesn't quite play out. I wasn't even sure I fully understood it at first. I ignored it to start with, but soon found they made it easier to keep me on my toes or act as guidance in better tackling the boss. By the end of the game it became impossible to not want to parry when the opportunity arose. Literally anything bright and pink. I gotta slap it. Here, can you bend over for a sec?
A great slam and then some.
The first time I died, this showed up. I had no idea what it truly meant, kept looking for the boss's health bar. Then the penny dropped. I think this design choice is genius. It's skewed towards progression rather than depletion. It gives failing players quick reassurance that they're making a dent. They know that you're going to see this more than once if you're as bad as I am. I don't think it's an accident that the icon is of Cuphead dashing towards the finish line, showing you upfront each phase of the boss. What happens is you die, you see this, you see how close you are to a certain phase or even the end, and you go, oh, I was pretty close. I'll try again. Never stop working on me. Some real Pavlovian shit, you know? This one screen seemed to make a huge difference in me feeling like I was too stupid to get it, to feeling like there was always the potential to overcome a hurdle. It's also doubled by the fact that every stage is around 2 minutes in length, including the platforming and mausoleum parts. Incredibly short stages, packed with mechanical definition, means less time wasted on bloated levels, so less chances of feeling constantly overwhelmed by losing your place. There's a lot of accommodation here for you to avoid fatigue. You can practice in simple mode, or come back and try a run again later when the time strikes you for a short blast. Some will just want to stick to a boss and keep at it, but mentally it helped me to try some other levels and see if they couldn't teach me something else or offer me some coins. The map is actually really fun, offering you more choice if you go looking for it, and just looks real nice. Overall, my experience was that if I wasn't already on top of a challenge, I could feel there was room to get there, mastering phases in chunks until I was ready to move on. The only exception I found was this scaly boy right here. Ooh, yeah. It's not immediately clear in his second phase that you can master the jumping flames as they track your location. Coupled with RNG clouds, this creates some real double trouble that partway bleeds into the third phase. I've seen other people have been fine with it though, so it's okay, I'll just never get that day back, that's all.
This match will get red hot.
Everybody had different experiences to share on bosses they struggled to master. and I wonder how much is to do with the interchangeability of the options as much as player skill. The set controls on the gamepad were pretty jank for me. Not that other people haven't made it work, it's just that, you know, these mitts are shits. However, they're also fully customizable. As soon as I set the dash and special move buttons to the trigs and bumps, I was good to go. This legitimately toppled a wall I was experiencing, and I think it offers a great solution that most can try in any number of combinations. Either way, I think enough people have brought this up for them to reconsider the default gamepad controls for the future. Where you'll really be experimenting is with the in-game enhancements. For the right amount of coins, you'll be granted some special power-ups and charms, which give you added hit points, homing bullets, boomerang attacks, the works. Some are powerful and can speed up a phase, others are less so but more accurate, helping you last longer. One, the smoke bomb, allows you to get an invulnerable dash, and you'll want to be using this one, trust me. Along with the unlockable super moves, it means you've always got some wiggle room to hold out, sometimes as a placebo effect, but often as another great way for less experienced players to notice their habits. See, every boss is designed to be beatable on the basic controls and abilities. The power-ups don't just act as enhancements. For example, 2 extra life points weakens your attack power, which offers you some latitude in mistakes, but means you might lose out on extra hits on a phase you're just shy of clearing. And you can only equip one of each type, so no extra lives and invulnerable dashing. After a while I go, okay, I just need to prioritize on a basic mechanic to balance this. And in one stroke the game actually uses the enhancements to hone the practice of the core gameplay. You a smart piggy. Goodbye. The penultimate boss also serves as a really good example of how the game offers options to learn and overcome a sizable challenge relatively simply. I'll be spoiling the last 2 fights to show this though, so if you're worried about that, skip to this timecode now. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Nelly.
This is some scary shit!
Mr. King Dice is special in that it's a challenge you can tailor the difficulty of. It's essentially a controlled boss rush. You hit the dice, and whatever space your number lands on causes you to either skip a go or fight a relatively straightforward mini-boss. With some very simple practice, you can figure out how to always hit the dice on the number that you want, allowing you to land on your preferred bosses and skip through what you find tough. The level above that involves choosing to land on the randomized extra hearts that crop up, which if you keep, make the final round that bit easier, which needs you to parry I might add, it's kind of important. It's real different, and part of why I want a sequel is just to see more interesting ideas for a boss challenge like this be implemented. I think it's also smart that the final boss was a slight cooldown after its first phase, lets the player have some brash catharsis after something so technical. I wish I could articulate just how satisfying this was. I did it! I'm a wiener! But then I've always known that.
You're up!
I was cautious about Cuphead's style. I played a few games over the years with an interesting visual hook, but not much polish, and some just real ugly. I also knew I was horribly biased, being a fan of both classic cartoons and pretty much anything around the era, and didn't want to give it a free pass based on that. It would have been easy to appreciate as a spectator. I already know quite a lot of friends who've enjoyed it just via YouTube. You can admire the accuracy of the details such as the animation style or painting techniques, and also how they've blended enough references to give Cuphead its own identity. It's got the surreality and style of the Fleischer-toons, but is skewed towards Disney shorts in terms of painting and polish. The choice of gambling, and the devil as the constant moral undercurrent, seals the deal on this being a perfect satire of the period. Oh, and the music?
Play that doghouse music, I love it!
The good news is that it's all in service of the gameplay. Cuphead has plenty of surprises delivered in this style. What's brilliant about adopting the surrealist tone is that literally anything is possible, through a boss's twisted sense of logic. No individual boss fight is truly against one foe. Often you'll find that a fight contains at least 3 transformations that all feel unique within the bounds of the character. I found myself pushing one phase after another simply to see what was next, and it also means they were distinct within my mind in terms of control too. Very helpful. To bring it back to bosses specifically, choosing to make Cuphead a boss rush was just the right choice. It allowed them to show off this kind of surreal character animation the best. Cuphead's ambition is in demonstrating so many characters so well, using methods of the era to guide them. Bosses allow for this focus on character, on things we stay with for a significant period of time and build a relationship with. It's hard for them not to hold our interest. We're all innately interested in character as a concept, and that goes a long way to making sure Cuphead's appeal holds through the entire game. Fun fact, I have a real niche fear of sea serpents, of giant monsters in the sea against the daytime sky. I'm not joking. So I can't deal with the water dragon, I can't deal with the Hydra, this image. I know that sounds bizarre, but it made a much simpler boss in the game the hardest for me to properly stomach. And it's kind of funny to me, because she's the one you all want to bang.
Knockout!
So I watched the conversation around Cuphead's difficulty spiral into a debate on exclusivity, journalism, and the ability to skip content. Gosh. I do understand that there are plenty of viable options offered by games past and present that allow you to skip or slide across a game's content, Nintendo being the butteriest. Whee! Most important word there being option, so everybody theoretically gets the best of both worlds. No such option exists in Cuphead. Beating the bosses on simple mode doesn't count, even though that would offer one solution. It's deliberately uncompromising in its basic functions. The developers have stated that Cuphead's difficulty was a big part of their vision. I mean, it's stylistically designed to be— oh shit.
Hopefully it'll work.
I respect that some people will be frustrated and will dislike the challenge, and I do think a demo might have offered the chance to better realise if the game was working for you. Yet I don't know that this is enough to indict this specific game's approach to difficulty, nor the concept of difficulty overall. My main points earlier in this video are to demonstrate how the game tries to play fair, offer alternatives, and encourage players, but also that the content is really nothing but the challenge. I think offering a skip button might actually make it worse. I mean, wait, what, you think the bosses get easier? Now, the funny thing is, I don't think that by and large that's in dispute. You might know some independents like Chris Wager, who put out a passage talking about the accessibility of difficulty, and Radlad Gaming Brit, who put out a similar rebuttal on how he felt the journey is the destination, man. In my research, however, I also found that aside a few upsets, knee-jerks, and salty baits, most major outlets were in agreement on Cuphead's difficulty being fine. IGN even backed up a couple of points I'd already written. The problem is, and I'm trying really hard not to say the wrong thing here, I think existing tensions that may or may not have been needlessly exacerbated have clouded the fact that this is far less divisive than you might think. Not that I can speak for everyone on this witness stand, I'm a bit out of my depth here, Judge. Jimmy, a little help please. I certainly found my own journey held true to the argument for toughing it out. I'd spent at worst an hour in total on a later boss. I'd beat it, I'd go back and try again for a recording, and boom, dead on that first reattempt. Something must be taking effect, even if it's just confidence. Here, you look at my scorecard on the first island and yeesh, I was averaging at some wavering C's. Become the second and third islands, it looks like I was finally hitting a consistent B or C+ stride. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. Had it talked down to me? Had it not respected my intelligence in trusting I could play by its rules, I never would have felt so involved. It let me have that journey, realising those moments when it all clicked and enjoying every new obstacle they thought up. I was so nervous diving in, but it turns out I needn't have worried. I didn't think a game like this would move me to speak so positively, but Cuphead pulled me through one hell of a rut, so to speak. Incidentally, I feel very similar about Nier, and I don't even like animes like Battletoads or whatever. These guys have made a game that I think feels more well-rounded than some big releases recently. They sacrificed a lot to make sure it came out well. Without any reassurance this would bring them a stable career. It's brimming with such character, not only in the presentation, but in the technical details through the gameplay and structure, and I think most will find little barrier to entry. Most. They had a plan and they saw it through. Feels great, man. Feels right. It's important the devs can build on that success. The debate around it was never invalid, but it's filled with so much extra hot air that it makes it harder for the right things to get taken away from the continued bickering, and I think they get that. I never thought I'd say this, but a game I was initially indifferent about offered me enough of a connection to become my favourite game this year. And that will be a hard position to replace. No pressure, mate! Thanks for watching. I'm pretty curious to see what you guys think. There's loads more room for discussion and a ton of stuff I think I might be missing here, so feel free to get commenting. Just put more shit down the chute, man. I've got time. So, how many times did I die again? Was it... Oh.